It sounded like a gimmicky name or something like that. Of course, 6 months later, you know, if you're old enough to remember, when they did the Ed Sullivan Show, it was like you couldn't find someone the next day who hadn't seen it. At that time, it was like 70 million viewers, and it just was, I can't tell you, there's no entertainment phenomenon I've ever seen in my life, all apologies extended to our franchise, like the Beatles, because it was everything. It was great music, great visuals, they were hilarious. If you saw their first press conference, you forget, all the grown-ups were, my dad said, oh, they're a fad. They just have long hair and yeah. They didn't think they were talented. So, I mean, I can't tell you how insulting mass media was to their arrival. So that made, again, it made you love them even more. They just don't get it, right? And their first press conference, you know, can you sing for us? No, we need money first. You know? How do you find America? Well, we took left at Greenland. You know, my favorite answer was, and I still know this, you're watching the news for this, they couldn't be rattled in terms of getting defensive about, because all these New York tough journalists who could care less, you know, are interviewing them at the airport. My favorite was, have you heard about the group in Cincinnati that's organized to help stamp out the Beatles? Have you heard about our group to stamp out Cincinnati? I mean, these guys, I mean, they made me laugh, and all my family loved them, except for my dad. and when it was genius, because when Paul sang Till There Was You from The Music Man, she said, oh, no, that's real music. See, they were smart, too, because, I mean, they put forward a ballad that was very romantic. Why am I talking about the Beatles? Oh, I know, because when I went to England for the first time. So, I mean, I didn't have time to really react to it. I mean, I built up England in my mind. If you'd seen it in A Hard Day's Night, how many ever times I saw that, all the British invasion.
And Help, yes.
Help, and, you know, well, you know, just, I was so into the British invasion. I loved the Kinks, and I loved the Rolling Stones, and the Animals. So, yeah, and that was my music. My older brother had the Kingston Trio, and then, you know, Motown for my sister, and Brenda Lee and the Beach Boys for my older sister, and it felt like the Beatles were mine. You know, they were too old. I said to Jan, you're 14, you're over. But anyway, so no, I mean, just at the time I had to react to being in England for the first time, then we go to Tunisia. And I have to tell you, when I got off the plane in Orland, I went, it's just like being back in North Africa. You know, that wave of humidity that hits you. So it's very much like that. And what I thought was so interesting was, we were following the production of, you can't describe Tunisia. It's like it hasn't changed since biblical times. We were following the production, Jesus of Nazareth, that brilliant BBC miniseries about the Bible stories. And like I say, at least their costumes and set fit where they were. We'd get unpacked, and there was 3PO, R2, you know, the Jawa mobile, what do you call it?
Dan Bowler!
I like the Jawa mobile better.
That was the kind of
Yeah, I know. I think I like the Jawa mobile better.
A land crawler.
We need to also understand is that when the mouthpiece calls it that, then that's what it was called. Then Hasbro renamed it, so that's the original. Carry on.
So you know this illustrates my point. I know you guys would beat me in a trivia contest, but what I can do is paint word pictures from a first person perspective, because I was there. And one thing that because I kept thinking, something's going to happen to me before I get to go do this movie. Because when I read it, I go, I can't believe this. I'm going to get run over by a car, my plane will crash, you know, something awful is going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do this. I mean, it's a dark sort of side to me. And, oh yes, dark side. So, and everything was fine. Everything was fine. Even the small plane that we took to North Africa. But here's what occurred to me, and I haven't told this anywhere. So again, this is inside baseball for all my family. We got assigned cars, and we landed wherever we landed, and we had to go for I don't know how many hours, and you have to forgive me on the exact details, but it was going to be like a 3, 4, maybe 5-hour drive from wherever we were to wherever we were staying, to where we go out to the salt flats and film the first day where Luke's little igloo house was, and the sand crawler. And so I looked at the travel arrangements, and they said, oh, you're sharing a car with Tony Daniels. I said, oh, great. And Tony and I got in this car, and in North Africa, there are roads that are two-way. They're like, it looks like a driveway, it's so narrow, and then on either side, there's no shoulder, it's just sand. So there's a little road and sand. And maybe it's a cultural thing, but first of all, this guy is driving with the pedal to the floor. So you're going over, even if there's even a little lift, you're sailing off. And it must be a cultural thing, or it's a machismo kind of thing. You don't want to yield for anybody. They don't. So what you're doing is, if you see an oncoming vehicle, it's like he's playing chicken. He accelerates and goes right towards that car. But I mean, it's funny now. But even 29 years later, it's funny today. It wasn't funny. We were screaming in terror. Seriously. What? Slow down. I mean, I said, Tony, you took French. Let's be careful in French. Because we didn't speak Arabic. He spoke Arabic and French. And he's,